Stop me if you've heard this one before. Bad guy crashes party, kidnaps princess, makes dramatic exit. Plucky handsome hero gives chase. Epic quest ensues. But funny story. Yeah, I'm the bad guy.
Today we're going to be taking a look at Nefarious, and before I really get going, I need to state two things. I will keep showing dialogue from the game to a minimum because the story is a big part of the draw for this game, and it's a fairly short game. Also, most of my footage was taken after I had unlocked all of the power-ups. This game is currently available on PC, and it was supposed to also have a Wii U release, but it sounds like that might get pushed over to the Switch. Not really sure what's going on with that at the moment. So as I said a moment ago, the main draw of this game is going to be the story. You play the part of a supervillain by the name of Crow. The story, honestly, I think is best described as a weird combination of Disgaea and Earthworm Jim. A lot of the dialogue is very comical in nature and pokes fun at various tropes. A good example is the conversation that occurs at the end of the first level when Crow's nemesis catches up with him, and I'll just let it speak for itself. As you can probably guess from that exchange, Crow's nemesis Max steps away from his responsibility of rescuing the princess, pretty much making Crow the victor by default. This puts him in an unexpected situation where the back and forth cycle he had with Mac has been broken. Without Max standing in his way, what is he going to do next? Capture more princesses. Why? Well, that would be spoiling too much to say. And don't think the entire game is goofy. On top of the usual zaniness, there are more serious moments where they touch on things like morality, and even might kick you in the feels a time or two. Not to mention the wide cast of characters, with 4 more princesses, in addition to Crow's usual kidnapping victim, and a hero to protect each one of them, each with drastically different personalities, and there's still Crow's henchman and his awesome secretary Becky. This game has plenty of personality, and while it may be a bit on the short side for the kind of game it is, I don't think that's a bad thing. Platformers aren't really meant to be long, time-consuming games. Last point to go over in regards to the story, though I need to point out there are 2 endings. There is a good and a bad ending. While I won't spoil either of them for you, I will say that no, they don't really do the usual cop-out of having the villain become a good guy in the end. But you do need to actually access a secret area in one of these levels if you want to get the good ending. Another great thing about this game is the soundtrack. You have no idea how much I love the soundtrack for this, considering how often in modern games I don't even remember any of the tracks from the game after I played it. But in this game, there are quite a few that I get stuck in my head. Particularly the part with lyrics from the song that plays during the ogre stage. It just kind of makes me want to dance. So this brings me to the last thing I need to discuss, which is the gameplay. It's not really anything particularly exceptional. Most of the time, nothing is really out of the ordinary for a platformer aside from the boss battles where you actually play the role of the boss instead of the other way around. They even recreate a few boss battles from other games. The more interesting thing about the gameplay through the regular stages is with your grenades. As long as you don't change your ranged weapon to missiles or the machine gun, if you're using grenades after you fire them, you can leap onto them in midair to use them to get a double jump, which is absolutely needed to reach some of the collectibles in the game. Also, as you progress through the stages, there will be a point where you will grab the princess and have to make your escape. You actually get a boost of some kind based on which princess you are carrying, with the exception being Mayapple from the first stage since you start the game holding her. But at the end of the day, the setting and the story are what pulled me into this game, as I don't usually care much for platformers. But it's also not that hard of a game, which is another reason I got into it, despite the fact that I don't usually like platformers. If you want a short, enjoyable story with a heavy helping of humor, you can't go wrong with Nefarious.